talking to us. Why don't you start out and tell us, did you enlist or were you drafted?
I enlisted.
Smart then too, weren't you? How old were you?
18.
18. And you volunteered for Vietnam?
I volunteered for the infantry and Vietnam when I was in boot camp.
And who did you end up with? What company?
Bravo Company, 1st Battalion, 9th Marines.
What are they called?
The Walking Dead.
And why?
We went through so many people. We were, some of the Stars and Stripes reported us as being the Rough Riders of the 3rd Marine Division.
Good. And I know that your mom was not real happy about you going, and when you went to the bus, she was upset. What did you tell her?
Well, it wasn't a bus, it was an airplane.
Okay.
And my mother was crying and bawling. This was after boot camp and everything. I was on my way to Vietnam, and she said, I know I'm never going to see you again. Now, as a kid, I was always accident prone. I mean, if something was going to get hurt, it was going to be me. And I had my uniform on, and I had a lump that big in my throat. And if I said more than 4 words, I was going to cry. So I just looked at her and I said, Mom, they can shoot me right in the head and it won't kill me. And I got on the plane. Guys over there, before they died, could tell you that they were going to die, that they were going to die. And that was almost without question. I always knew I wasn't going to die. And I used to pray to God every day, but I'd pray to God to take care of my family here. And they prayed for him to take care of me over there. But I'd pray, I knew I was going to get wounded. And I'd say, please put my scars where they don't show. I'd say, if I'm going to lose a leg, I'd like to lose it from the knee down. If I lose an arm, I'd like to lose it from the elbow down. I mean, I'm serious, I would pray this way. Well, the last day we got up, they picked my squad to take the point. All of my guys said, today's my day. So I took the point. And they all died, and I didn't.
What happened? You got to, I remember you told me there was a field that you got to, that you went across. Was it an old paddy or something?
No, it was a field, and they had a hedgerow built all the way around it. The large unit they were talking about was a regiment, 328B, straight out of North Vietnam, was 3,800 men, and we were 168. I took the point, the trail led diagonally right across it. And when I spread the bushes to go through the hedgerow, they opened up on us. They were lined up behind the hedgerow. They took down both my flanks, they took down my grenadier. And of course, I jumped right into them, and if they shot at me and missed, they were going to hit their own people. I kind of had a free-for-all there for a few minutes. And my grenadier wasn't dead. They shot him in the shin and broke his leg. And he was saying some ugly things to him. And he finally said, are you hit? And I couldn't hear what he said. And what I said was, I'm getting my share of them. He said, I'm going to try to get back. I'll send somebody up to get you. And I got up and I ran and I grabbed him by the back of the neck, and away we went. I got him back through the hedgerow on the other side. On the way back, I went by my corpsman. It had a busted thigh and a busted shoulder. I went back and got him, brought him back, gave them both big shots of morphine out of the corpsman's bag. And then we were fighting to the front, and they had totally encircled us and come in from the back. They killed Fuentes, they killed Brooksy, they hit me in the thigh, twice in the hip. I'd already been hit in the shoulder. Later on, just about dark, they swept through and they were killing the wounded. We were out of ammunition. And I'd hear like, oh my God, please no, or oh no, please no, and I'd hear a gunshot. They got to me and they pulled me up on my knees. One in front of me, one over here with a pistol right there. And I said a real ugly thing to them, because I knew they were going to kill me anyway. And they did, they shot. And when I hit the ground, I said, I'm not dead. I was unconscious, but in my brain I was saying, I'm not dead. The next day I came to, And I argued with myself. I could actually talk myself into believing the best thing to do was to die. Then something else would pop in my head, and then I'd say, no, I really don't want to die. But the one thing I did do, was the last time they shot me, I said, please God, no more. And I never get hit again. I say that. Coming out on a tank the next day, they fired a rifle grenade at me, and it hit my finger, it broke my finger, and it didn't blow up. And I was looking at it, and I said, well, it's got a delay. My brain kicked in and said, hey, dummy, why don't you throw it off the tank? And I did, and it still didn't blow up. But the first tank they put me on got hit and blew up, blew the track off it. The people that come in was my former platoon commander, was on his way home. He was in Hawaii, flew back into Vietnam. They gave him a battalion of men and 4 tanks. He is the one that first got to me. And I won't tell you what he said, but I'll tell you what he asked. He said, how do you feel? And keep in mind, I've got blood all over my entire body, just blood. And I said, fine, thank you, sir. How are you? When I seen him, I knew I was going to live. And
I know, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I know you told me you were laying there and you had given up.
I had given up, and there were 5 or 6 Vietnamese in front of me. I could hear them talking. And I picked my head up, and they looked at me. And I put my head back down, and I said, now they're going to shoot. And what I didn't know is that the first tank was in back of me. And they hit them with a 90-millimeter cannon beehive round. And they were gone.
Well, you gave up, but God didn't.
God didn't. He said, that's a good thing. And I'll tell you, they got me into the hospital. The first field man, this was probably 36 hours after I got my first wound. And they cut my clothes off me, ran blood in both arms. There was a chaplain there. And he said, excuse me, son, what religion are you? And I said, I'm Protestant. He said, I'm a Catholic priest. Would you mind if I stayed with you? And I said, no, I'd appreciate it very much if you would. But I'm telling you right now, I'm not dying. He stayed with me for 2 weeks. I went to Delta Med in Dong Ha, Charlie Med in Saigon. I was in the hospital in Da Nang, Yokosuka, Japan, Okinawa, Clark Air Force Base in the Philippines before I ever got back to the States, and they operated on me in every one of those places. Well, he left me in Clark Air Force Base in the Philippines 2 weeks later. And he came in and he said, I have to go back to Vietnam. And he said, I pray to God I find another one just like you.
And the doctor told you something that was very interesting. What did he tell you when you got there?
The doctor said, there's no medical reason on earth you're still alive. He said, number 1, he said, you should have bled to death. He said, number 2, the shot through your head should have killed you. He says, and you are alive, and we're going to do everything we can. He said, but there's no reason you're here. You know, it's a lot of times movies don't show justice. You get into a firefight, and your buddies start getting hit, and it's painful. They cry out to their mothers. They cry out to their girlfriends. They sometimes cry out to their grandmothers. I very seldom ever heard somebody cry out to God, and I did. That's who I cried out to.